Hi, everybody. I'm Kathie. Nice to meet all of you. Um, this is kind of my personal journey with AI. I'm going to share how AI has absolutely changed my world and how I think it's going to change all of our worlds for the better. So, without further ado, since you're all hungry, I'm going to start with a great one. This is me in 1988. Yeah, it's a lot, right? Like, go ahead and laugh because it's funny. So, anyway, like, the first thing you're going to notice is like the hair, right? And you're probably asking, how did she do that? Or maybe more importantly, why did she do that, right? We're not going to pay attention to this horrible dress or earrings or anything else going on. But there's something that you are not going to notice in this picture, but I sure do. And that's the mask that I was wearing. This is a good 35 years or so before I realized my brain works differently than everyone else. I just thought maybe I was a little slow, or I don't know, I couldn't learn the way everybody else did. But AI entered my life and things changed. So this is all supposed to make work easier, right? Like, that's the pitch. We're going to do more with less. We're going to free up your time, work smarter. But instead, I'm finding that I've got this push-pull between I'm calmer than I've ever been before, but I also feel way more chaotic than I have before. So on one side, I'm super in control. I've got, how many are running like an AI chief of staff, second brain? Everyone doing that? It's like the best thing ever, right? So I don't worry about forgetting things anymore. I've got like 12 different inputs. They're all coming in through my second brain. I know what I have to work on every day. It's great. And given that, I'm more productive. So I could start the day, I've got an idea, and by the end of the day, it's shipped. And I'm an efficiency freak, so I love that. But on the other side, there's so many possibilities to start the day with. There's a million different doors I could walk through, and that feels super overwhelming. And then you've got the models changing and the capabilities changing literally by the hour. Fable 5. God, I miss her. But the brief little moment in time, right? We all went, okay, new model dropped. You drop everything you do and you see what you can do with it. So first I want to talk about the calm that AI has brought to me. But before we do this, the easiest way for you to understand how my brain thinks is to do an experiment. So I'm going to ask you all to be brave. If you could close your eyes for just a second. Okay. I want you to picture an apple. We're going to go with a red apple, okay? And really think of it, is it shiny? Does it have leaves on it? Maybe the leaves are green, maybe they're brown. Okay, so just really, really hold that in your head for a sec. Okay, open them up. How many people in this room saw an apple that looked like number 1 over here? Oh, I am so jealous. That's a thing called hyperphantasia. That is the opposite of what happens to me. What about number 2? Anyone? All right. 3-ish. And what about 4? Just kind of a gray blob? Yeah. Anybody who just said it was just black, like nothing there? Cool, just me. Okay. So that's what happens in my head. I can't conjure anything. So if you're describing something very complex, that's not something I could chart in my head. I need to externalize that. So what that's called is aphantasia, which, like I said, is the opposite of you cool people that could like really see that apple, like you could eat it. This thing hates me, and I kind of hate it. It does, yeah. So like I mentioned earlier, I just thought I wasn't good at certain types of thinking. Like in school, it was about memorizing dates, and I was just terrible at it. But if you could picture that date in your head, it's a lot easier to remember, right? So usually people, when they find out I have this, they're like, how do you function? How do you remember anything? Can you do things that are creative? Simply put, I run headless. That's the technical answer. So if you picture your computer having an image on it, it's just in binary, right? And the monitor just renders that image. If you unplug the monitor, the image is still there. Or I'm sorry, the data is there for the image, right? It's just not rendering. So that's exactly how my brain works. Everything's like a word cloud. So I make associations between things. But those of you, like everyone in this room gets interrupted, right? But those of you that can actually see those things in your head, you're able to start from that picture. And I basically have to rebuild from nothing every single interruption. And so one of the things I did was become super obsessed with project management software, thinking maybe if I just found the right one, right, I'd be super on top of everything and feel really in control. But AI came along and closed that gap between the interruption and my recovery time because it's holding that picture for me. So it's always on. I just go back to my chat or go back to my project and all the data is still there. And so for the first time in my life, I felt like the gap between the way I think and the way the work actually gets done got smaller. So it became the thing that holds the context across all of my functional areas, which anyone who knows me, I have like the Franken department. So if you're not technical delivery and you're not finance, you report to me. So my areas have nothing in common but just this girl. So as I'm talking to people, I'm hearing different flavors of that. Like the folks that set up their AI chief of staff, like they set it up for the way their brain works. And I'm finding the people that it's helping are like the developer who's absolutely brilliant, but struggles with communication, right? Especially if they're customer facing. So AI is providing that interface to say, hey, is this something appropriate to say to a customer? Can I say this very technical thing in a way a business leader is going to understand? Or the top salesperson in the company, I don't know about you guys, but they never keep up their CRM, right? Like ever. So this is an area that can help them. Or an executive who thinks in systems, they see it all at the same time, but they can't write in a linear fashion. So all of these people have been compensating their entire careers like I have. They've been creating workarounds. They've been masking to fit in with the way everybody else thinks. And now we have a tool that could give them exactly what they want and need. So this was kind of an aha moment that I had the other day, is that AI actually works exactly the same way I do. So as you know, it's stateless, right? So it's not remembering down the chat at every turn. It's going back and rereading all the context. And so it was a very cool experience for me to realize that the most powerful tool ever written thinks the way I do. So the workaround that I spent decades apologizing for turns out to be the architecture, the thing that's rewriting all of our jobs and lives. So that's all well and good, but now there's all this chaos that it's brought into my life. And that's that, up until AI, we had the present door, and that's all the work that's on our job description that we come into work every day to do. But it's opened up these two portals. So now we have a chance to revisit the past, that onboarding workflow that's been broken for 10 years, right? Like we have the opportunity to go fix that. Or there's future work that a new model enables us to do that wasn't even, in our job description. So it becomes very confusing of where do you spend the time and how do you resist the pull into that future work or in fixing past work, which I feel like is what most of us do. My CEO actually said something really brilliant, but we're not going to tell him because his head's going to get really big. But anyway, he said, we have this thing that can solve all the problems we currently have, and we're actually drawn to solve all the problems we previously had. So that's the AI paradox. It's made my present work more calm. I think I produce better work. I feel more focused and engaged, but it's also made my workload explode, right? I didn't get extra time because AI came into my life. And so, excuse me, that's exploded from this present into all three of these portals. My hatred for this thing is knowing no bounds, just so you know. So this is quite an R chart, but remember, I can't hold this in my head, right? So I need a system that I could externalize of how do I pull out of the present time and go into future time or past time. So this is sort of my decisioning. So I always root my day in the present. So always start from my second brain AI chief of staff. Okay, so one of two things is going to happen in my day. I'm either going to hit a blocker or a new capability or model are going to drop. So let's go through the blocker side. A good example here was, does anyone use HubSpot? It's terrible, right? Like it's the worst. So I had to spin up a landing page and I knew I was in for hours of pain, even though it should be like a 15, 30-minute task. So the first thing I asked myself is, well, first of all, did this hurt in the past, right? Is it going to continue to hurt? And then is it something I could basically spend the same amount of time on to fix it forever than I was going to be to do it the hard way? So if that happens, I absolutely fix the root cause. I'm going into that past door. And then there's the other side, the future door. So again, Fable 5, God rest her soul, may she come back to me. The minute that dropped, I knew I had a pain point, and that was we were spending 2 to 3 days doing post-production video. And obviously there are other things we could do at that time. So the new model unlocked something new for me. So I passed that stage gate, and it certainly beat the lights on ROI of taking a full day to do that work. So instead, what we did is we spent 3-4 hours, made a project in Fable, and now that post-production is happening autonomously. So instead of losing 3 days a month, it takes about an hour, only 30 of which is actually a human involved in it. So that's 300 hours a year that we gained. And that's how I'm able to expand my present time. So now that's 300 hours I get in my future bank. So as I was doing all this and articulating it, I realized this probably only happens because I think differently. And I think the people that think differently are the ones that could question the AI. They could see the whole system. So it really made me think about hiring. Like, who are those people that are sitting on the bench or never got an opportunity to have this job because the processes we have are not built for them? So these are some convictions that I have about hiring now. This study absolutely popped my head off. So in the UK, they did a study of employers, and this is specifically in tech, and they asked the employers, how many neurodiverse people do you think you have in your organization? And the employers put it at 3%. And then they asked the employees, how many of you, I know, right, Andy? It's crazy. So then they asked the employees and they said, how many of you identify as neurodiverse? And 50% raised their hands. And of that 50%, this is the really concerning number, 57% of them never said a word to anybody at work. Right? They just made their workarounds. They were doing double the work of everybody else. So really, between how we measure people coming in the door in interviews and performance management, we're not evaluating people on their ability to do the job. It's really, you're being evaluated on your ability to mask. So as I said earlier, I really think neurodiverse brains are the future, and they're the ones who are going to be able to pull the puppet strings with AI, because judgment and sequencing, context loading, knowing when the AI got it wrong, those are human skills and they don't belong to one type of brain. But I do think the people that are most practiced at the kind of thinking that AI demands are the people that have to externalize everything to understand it, or either think in a non-linear way. These are skills that we absolutely need. Sorry, I am so thrown by this thing. I'm like in fear of it right now. But another study said that only 1 in 5 employers have actually changed their hiring process or their performance management process to account for neurodiversity. And in the age of AI, we have to change this because these are exactly the people that are going to propel our business forward. So I want to end with this. We're kind of in the messy middle, right? You saw my terrible hair from the 80s, and that was all done with Aquanet. And the reason we do that is when we get new tools, we push them to just stupid extremes, right? But things settle out in the end. The bangs come down. You end up with a little bob. Things are good. So I know it's overwhelming, but if you're feeling what I'm right now with the calm and the chaos all at the same time, saying, I have no idea how to prioritize this. It's not just you. We're all figuring it out at the same time, both employees and employers. So we do have to give them a little bit of grace. But here's what I believe. The future of work isn't going to be built for one type of brain. For those of us that have building workarounds our entire life, we might finally be building towards something instead. And I think we were made for this technology. So to quote from some lovable teenagers off looking for gold to save their families, the Goonies, I want to end on this. This is our time. Thank you.